The movie begins with four girls traveling through a remote rural area of Argentina. None of them have any idea that this trip is about to become the most terrifying experience of their lives. Along the way, a group of armed men notices the four girls. They follow them and eventually manage to stop their car. The girls are then taken against their will and brought to an isolated location deep in the wilderness, where they are subjected to horrifying treatment. Once the men take the four girls deep into the woods, they surround them and threaten them with their weapons. There is nothing but thick forest in every direction, and no one is around to hear their screams. The men then force them to undress and subject them to cruel and humiliating treatment. The girls are terrified. They have nowhere to run, and there is no one they can turn to for help. For a moment, all four can do is look at each other in fear, but for now, they have no idea how much worse things are about to get. But why were these four girls targeted in the first place? And will they ever manage to escape this terrifying captivity? To find out, let's begin the story. At the beginning of the movie, we meet Carol, Leonor, Yasmin, and Moira as they drive through the countryside of Argentina. The four friends spend the entire journey talking and enjoying their trip together. The weather outside is extremely hot, making the journey even more uncomfortable. After driving for a while, they pull the car over to take a short break. While resting, the girls start talking about a friend who couldn't join them on the trip. Moira explains that she really wanted their friend to come along, but her parents wouldn't allow her to make the trip. Meanwhile, Carol gets out of the car and starts taking a few pictures with her flip phone. After resting for a while, the four girls get back into the car and continue toward their destination. Sometime later, they stop at a gas station to fill up the car. While they're there, Carol receives a message from her mother. She tells Carol that she misses her. After reading the message, Carol heads into the restroom, but the place is so filthy that she doesn't stay inside for long. She simply rinses her mouth with some water, then comes back outside. The four girls get back into the car and continue driving while chatting with each other. A little farther down the road, they notice a warning sign beside the highway. It warns travelers that dangerous wild animals have been spotted in the area and tells them to be careful. But they have no idea yet that wild animals aren't the only danger waiting for them in this remote place. As they continue driving, they suddenly notice an injured girl lying beside the road. Carol immediately tells her friends to stop the car. All four girls get out and approach her, asking what happened to her. When they take a closer look, they realize they've seen the same girl before. She was the girl they had noticed at the gas station earlier. She had been carrying some supplies home when she was suddenly shot. The bullet had gone straight through her head, leaving her badly injured and collapsed beside the road. The four girls are horrified by her condition, but instead of leaving her there, they decide to help her and take her to a hospital. Suddenly, they hear a gunshot in the distance. The girls panic and immediately hide themselves. They realize that whoever shot this girl could still be nearby. Moving carefully, they manage to get the injured girl into their car so they can take her somewhere safe. They quickly start the engine and drive away. But then, they notice several young men standing nearby, watching them as they leave. And judging by the way those men are staring at them, it seems like they may be the very people these girls should be afraid of. Now the girls are almost certain that these men were the ones who shot the injured girl. But before they can figure out what to do, the men get into their vehicle and start following the girl's car. The girls speed away as quickly as they can. Along the way, they try to calm the injured girl down, telling her not to worry. They explain that they're taking her to the police station, and once they get there, she'll receive the help she needs. But then, the injured girl suddenly stops breathing. She is dead. The girls are completely terrified. There is nothing they can do for her anymore, so they continue driving and take her body straight to the nearest police station. But when they arrive, they discover that there isn't a single police officer there at the moment. The girls stay at the station and wait for the inspector to arrive. After some time, the inspector finally shows up. The girls immediately tell him everything that happened. The inspector assures them that they don't need to worry. He will take their statement and file a report. Then he asks them about the men who fired the shots. The girls agree to describe them and help identify them. But then, Carol looks out through the window, and the color drains from her face. The very same men, the ones who shot the girl, have arrived at the police station. They walk inside and immediately start talking to the inspector. And the moment the inspector sees them, he salutes them as if he already knows them very well. The men explain that they had gone into the area for a shooting trip. According to them, the girl was accidentally hit by a bullet during the shooting. They insist that they never intentionally aimed at her. Then they ask the inspector not to file a report about the incident. It quickly becomes clear that these men have considerable influence in the area, and even the inspector seems to treat them with respect. In the end, the inspector agrees to their request. He tells the girls to leave and not pursue the matter any further. The four girls are already frightened, and they have no reason to stay there anymore, so they get back into their car and leave the police station. They think the whole situation might finally be over, and perhaps those men have decided to let them go. but they are wrong. A short while later, the same men appear behind them again. They signal for the girls to stop. With no choice, the 4 girls pull their car over. They try calling their families, but none of their calls go through. Finally, Carol manages to send her mother a message asking for help, but before she can receive a response, the men reach them. They order the 4 girls to follow them in their vehicle. Then they take the girls' car along with them and drive deep into the wilderness. After driving for a while, they stop in an isolated area. The girls are ordered to get out of the car. The moment they get an opportunity, they try to run. But then, a gunshot rings out. The bullet tears straight through one of the girls' shoulder. She collapses to the ground as blood begins pouring from the wound. The other 3 girls are horrified. They desperately beg the men to help her, but the men have absolutely no intention of helping. Meanwhile, the inspector has also left the station and is now patrolling the same area. Meanwhile, the inspector continues patrolling the area. Suddenly, he notices some fresh tire tracks on the ground. Seeing them, he immediately suspects that the men may not have actually left the girls behind. He follows the tracks deeper into the area, but by then, the 4 girls have already been taken to the men's hideout deep inside the woods. The place is so isolated that there isn't another person in sight for miles. As soon as they arrive, the men tie the injured girl to a tree and order the other 3 to sit on the ground. Then they force all 4 girls to lie face down. The anger on their faces is obvious. They threaten the girls and tell them that going to the police and reporting them was the biggest mistake they could have made. After that, the violence becomes even more brutal. They viciously beat the girl who is tied to the tree. Her screams echo through the woods, but there is no one anywhere nearby who could possibly come to her rescue. After a while, they untie her and force her to lie down with the other girls. Then the 4 of them are subjected to repeated sexual violence. The girls scream in pain and terror, but their attackers show absolutely no mercy. One of the girls somehow manages to make a run for it, but she is caught almost immediately. The men threaten her, warning that if she tries to escape again, they will kill the rest of her friends. By now, all 4 girls understand exactly what kind of people they have fallen into the hands of. Carol also tries to find a way out, but she is stopped when one of the men points a gun at her. He warns her that if she attempts to escape, he will kill her friends right in front of her. Terrified, Carol begs them not to hurt anyone. She tries to explain that she is still very young and pleads with them to let her go, but nothing she says has any effect on them. For the 4 girls, that isolated place has now become a terrifying prison, where every passing moment brings them closer to death. But even then, the men do not stop. They continue abusing the girls again and again. The 4 friends keep trying to protect themselves, but they are completely helpless against their attackers' numbers and weapons. Eventually, their condition becomes so severe that all 4 girls lose their lives. Meanwhile, the inspector is still searching for them. Then he receives a call from Carol's mother. In a panic, she tells him that her daughter had sent her a message asking for help, and she is terrified that Carol may be in serious trouble. The inspector immediately asks whether Carol was alone at the time or if she was with anyone else. Carol's mother tells him that she was with 3 of her friends. The inspector realizes that Carol and her 3 friends are the girls being referred to. He knows he cannot afford to waste any more time, so he immediately gets into his car and heads out to find them. Meanwhile, the men who have been holding the girls captive in the woods finally prepare to leave. The 3 surviving girls watch them walk away, and for a moment, they think the men may have finally calmed down, but then they notice their friend lying on the ground. She is dead. Seeing her body makes the fear in the other 3 girls even worse. They now understand that if they do not get out of there, they could be next. The 3 girls somehow manage to escape and start making their way through the woods, desperately searching for help. After walking for some distance, they come across a river. One of the girls steps into the water and begins washing herself. For her, this is more than just taking a bath. She is desperately trying to wash away the horrifying memory of what those men did to her and the trauma they left behind. After that, the 3 girls continue moving through the woods. Eventually, they spot an old cabin hidden among the trees. The sight gives them a small glimmer of hope. They think someone might be living there and that person could possibly help them. Meanwhile, the inspector continues searching for the girls. Suddenly, he notices a car hidden deep inside the woods. The moment he sees it, he realizes how serious the situation may be. He suspects this could be the same vehicle the men used to bring the girls there. Now convinced that something terrible has happened to them, he immediately heads deeper into the woods. Meanwhile, the 3 girls reach the old cabin. When they go inside, they find it completely empty. However, there are bottles of alcohol and other belongings lying around, which tells them that someone must have been staying there. Then they notice some of the things inside the cabin, and it does not take long for them to realize that this may actually be the men's hideout. They immediately turn toward the door, hoping to get out, but suddenly, a gunshot rings out. Carol is shot in the head and collapses to the ground, dead. The other two girls are horrified and immediately try to run, but before they can get very far, the men surround them at gunpoint. Once again, the two girls are prisoners in the hands of the same men. One of the men walks up to Carol's friend and threatens her, telling her that there is no way she can escape from them, but instead of being intimidated, the girl spits directly in his face. She stares at him and tells him that he is a terrible person. That only makes him angrier. He tells her that now he is going to teach her a lesson. Then he gets into the vehicle with the others and drives away, taking the girl with them. As for the other girl, Yasmin, they leave her behind at the cabin and lock the door. A short while later, the men encounter the inspector on the road. The inspector stops their vehicle and tells them that he received a call from the mother of one of the girls. He then asks them directly what they have done to the girls, but the man remains completely calm and denies everything. He claims that they did nothing to the girls and tells the inspector to leave. The inspector knows that confronting these men is not going to be easy. Eventually, he accepts their explanation and turns his vehicle around, heading in the opposite direction, but he still has no idea that the men he just allowed to leave are driving away with one of the girls still alive and in their custody. But the moment the inspector sees the men driving away, he immediately turns his own vehicle around and begins following them from a safe distance. He wants to find out where they are taking the girls, and if he gets the right opportunity, he plans to catch them in the act. After driving for some distance, the inspector realizes that the men must have some kind of hideout nearby, so he heads toward their cabin, hoping to find out who is inside. The moment he opens the door, he finds Yasmin inside. She is in terrible condition, and as soon as she sees the inspector, she desperately begs him for help. The inspector tries to reassure her, "Don't worry, I'm going to get you out of here." But the moment he steps outside the cabin, he sees the men returning. The inspector immediately realizes that he has walked straight into a trap. Before he can do anything, the men shoot him dead. Afterward, they wrap the inspector's body in a piece of cloth and place it inside the trunk of his own car, planning to get rid of it later. Two of the men drive away with the body, while another stays behind near the cabin to keep an eye on Yasmin. But Yasmin has no intention of sitting quietly and waiting for whatever happens next. When she gets an opportunity, she quietly makes her way toward their vehicle and looks inside. That's when she sees her friend lying inside the car. The men had brutally attacked her again. Seeing her friend's condition fills Yasmin with even more rage. She looks around and notices a hammer inside the vehicle. Without hesitation, she grabs it. Just then, one of the men spots her and starts moving toward her. But before he can reach Yasmin, she swings the hammer at him with all her strength. The first blow hits him in the face, and Yasmin keeps attacking him again and again until he finally collapses. Yasmin immediately helps her injured friend out of the vehicle and takes her with her. At this point, the two girls have only one thing on their minds. They don't just need to escape these men anymore. They want to make every one of them pay for what they have done. Yasmin starts gathering different tools lying around the area. Then, deep inside the woods, she begins setting up traps in different places, making sure that the next man who crosses their path will have to pay for it. After that, the two girls continue deeper into the forest, searching for a way out. But then they spot another man digging a hole in the ground. Yasmin immediately confronts him and tries to fight him, but the man is stronger and quickly overpowers her, beating her brutally. During the struggle, Yasmin notices his gun lying nearby. She manages to reach for it, but before she can grab it, her friend arrives. She picks up a chain from behind him, loops it around his neck, and pulls with all her strength. The chain tightens around his throat until eventually the man dies right there. After that, they bury the man's body in the very same hole he had been digging himself. But before they can get any further, their third companion suddenly arrives and immediately opens fire on them. Yasmin quickly takes cover. When she gets the chance, she raises her gun and aims it straight at him. But just as she is about to pull the trigger, she realizes that she has already used up all her bullets. There is no point in hiding anymore. Yasmin comes out of hiding and starts firing at the man. He immediately turns and runs for his life. Yasmin chases after him, continuing to fire until one of the bullets finally hits him in the leg. Blood starts pouring from his wound, but he refuses to stop. He keeps running until he manages to get past the fence surrounding the woods. That's when Yasmin and her friend notice a warning sign attached to the fence. It clearly states that dangerous wild animals are on the other side. A moment later, they hear the man screaming in agony. Then they hear the growls of wild animals. The two girls immediately realize that the wild boars on the other side of the fence have attacked him. After a short while, his screams suddenly stop, and just like that, another one of their attackers is gone. Yasmin and her friend then make their way out of the woods and finally reach the road. At this point, they are only focused on one thing: finding someone who can help them. And with that, the story comes to an end.